Another revelation, that one I'm yet to confirm it. Because I saw people trapped somewhere, something has happened and people are trapped somewhere. And I saw their dying. But I'm yet to confirm it. I'm yet to confirm it. The way I saw it, the vision was a bit disturbing. I was holding like a photo like this. This photo like this. But on a photo like this, there were a lot of people, many. And I was seeing them, they are alive. Me, I'm seeing them like this. And they were all trapped somewhere. They were trying to rise up, but they are being pulled down. And I started seeing them dying one by one. And I would try to think of what to do, but I failed. So when I had seen what is this? Then something came to me that you just get that photo, put it on top of fire. But unfortunately, they already died. Most of them are died. So I asked, what is this, Lord? He just told me to pray. That fire you are seeing is the prayer we should release them. I don't know where the place was. I'm yet to go. I don't want to give revelations when it is half-baked. I want to ask. But I'm praying for it. I'm praying because there are some people who are going to die that kind of death. Trapped somewhere and dying.
Good evening. It happened late at night when most people were asleep. There was no warning, and it was absolutely horrific in its power. This is the moment a 6.8 magnitude earthquake rocked Morocco. You can see people fleeing into an alley only for debris to then start tumbling down. The quake was centered here, just south of the popular tourist destination of Marrakesh. The death toll already stands at over 2,000 people. And as we get new images in of the destruction, it's clear that number is only going to rise. Now it is a race against time to save those trapped in the buildings and try to get to the hardest hit areas that are cut off from the rest of the country. Many, including American tourists, now sleeping outside, fearing more aftershocks. The State Department late today confirming some Americans were injured. We have two reports tonight, beginning with Matt Bradley.
Moroccans are now struggling to reach survivors thought to be buried beneath rubble. It's the most powerful tremor to hit Morocco in more than 100 years. Suddenly we saw things falling from above, like dishes and other things that were fixed to the wall. We were unable to sit or stand. Then we fled outside, said this resident. Really, the earthquake was very strong. Moroccan military reporting more than 2,000 people killed, another 2,000 injured. The numbers have been climbing all day, and they will probably continue to grow as first responders pull more bodies from ruined homes. We ran outside, but a wall fell on my head, said this man. Sky News' Adam Parsons is on the ground in Morocco.
There is still real fear about what could happen. Here's a very good example of that nervousness. This restaurant behind me was badly damaged by the earthquake on Friday night, but it only actually collapsed hours and hours later.
The quake struck in the high Atlas Mountains shortly before midnight. This security camera video of the first tremors shows people fleeing cafes in panic and barely escaping falling debris. We went to sleep, but after a few seconds we felt the earthquake and we went out of the house, this man said. After that, the entire house was destroyed. The epicenter was about 50 miles from the historic city of Marrakesh. Its beloved Medina, or old city of labyrinthine alleyways, now partly damaged.
Let's take you to our top story. And a number of people killed in Friday's earthquake in Morocco has now risen to almost 2,800. Survivors are living in tents after their homes were destroyed. Some are still searching for loved ones trapped under the rubble. Now, the army and aid agencies have reached some remote villages in the high Atlas Mountains. Many roads there became blocked by rubble, hampering relief efforts. Workers are rushing to reopen those roads leading to isolated communities. And the Moroccan military has been delivering aid to those hard-to-reach areas by air. The army says it's distributing food, tents and blankets on the ground. Let's cross over to Jonah Hull, our correspondent, who's following events for us near the Atlas Mountains there, near the epicentre as well in Morocco. Jonah, just describe to us where you are and what you can see just right now.
Well, it's been a pretty dramatic day here in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains, in some of the worst affected areas after Friday night's quake, if not necessarily the most remote. The earthquake zone extends much deeper into the mountains than this. I'm in the village of Urigan. It's not far from the local centre of Mourad Brahim, and devastated, of course. And as we've been here, we've watched 3 days in a pretty intensive aid and relief effort really get underway today. You can see tents behind me there, piles of aid that's been delivered, much of it by volunteers, I have to say, rather than by the government. And we've watched a search and rescue effort get underway to some extent. I say to some extent because whilst we've seen sniffer dogs searching for signs of life, they haven't found any, and so we've watched heavy digging equipment pulling the rubble aside and searching for bodies, which sadly they have found. 3 additional victims, adding to the toll of this very small community here. Here's my report.
Ismail Otasaft lived next door to that family in a house that no longer exists and lost 3 family members of his own.
We've heard about earthquakes before, but they always happen somewhere else. Now that it happens to us, we understand. And when it happened, all I could do is pray.
He watches as the search goes on. A mother and her daughter are believed to be beneath the rubble, and sniffer dogs belonging to a volunteer French unit detect no sign of life.
It's a slow, delicate business, this, breaking through the rubble with what is an incredibly heavy piece of equipment, but carefully so as not to further collapse the structure so that they can retrieve the bodies buried beneath.
Dozens of people are known to have died in this small community alone. The poorest here are farmers. The better off guide tourists on tranquil mountain hikes.
Survivors are living in tents after their homes were destroyed. Some are still searching for loved ones trapped under the rubble. Mohammed Val reports.
For the 3rd consecutive day, a massive search and rescue operation to find earthquake survivors. The Eagle community in the Wirgan area is only 2.5 kilometers from the epicenter of the devastating tremor on Friday. It struck El Haouz province south of Marrakesh, where the largest number of victims are. Teams from the Royal Armed Forces are leading the operation. Some victims have been rescued from under the rubble. The logistical challenges are enormous. Bodies are piling up near graves in the heat, with reports that Moroccan authorities have instructed the bereaved not to bury their loved ones until death certificates are issued.
Moroccan authorities have wronged us, sir. They haven't allowed us to bury our dead. They're rotting. They haven't provided us any help. They haven't let us do anything.
With the number of dead, injured and missing continuing to rise, the worst affected villages in the High Atlas region present the biggest challenge. The rugged mountain range hosts some of the remotest residential areas. Moroccans across the country are showing solidarity. Volunteers from northern Morocco distributed food, blankets and clothes to villagers. Many other regions are launching similar campaigns to deliver to earthquake victims. Military helicopters are flying aid to isolated communities near the epicenter. Medical and nursing staff have been recruited to assist them. A Moroccan government spokesman says the priority is to reach stranded people.
The main challenge is the rocks that fall down and block roads, but we use airplanes to reach affected areas.
He says it's difficult to estimate how many people are trapped under the rubble. Morocco hasn't seen an earthquake like this one since the Agadir quake in 1960, which killed more than 12,000 people. Mohammed Val, Al Jazeera.
Another revelation, that one I'm yet to confirm it. Because I saw people trapped somewhere something has happened and people are trapped somewhere. And I saw they're dying. But I'm yet to confirm it. I'm yet to confirm it. The way I saw it, the vision was a bit disturbing. I was holding like a photo like this. This photo like this. But on a photo like this, there were a lot of people, many. And I was seeing them, they are alive. For me, I'm seeing them like this. And they were all trapped somewhere. They were trying to rise up, but they are being pulled down. And I started seeing them dying one by one. And I would try to think of what to do, but I failed. So when I had seen, what is this? Then something came to me that you just get that photo, put it on top of fire. But unfortunately, they already died. Most of them had died. So I asked, what is this, Lord? He just told me, pray. That fire you are seeing is the prayer which will release them. I don't know where the place was. I'm yet to confirm. I don't want to give revelations when it is half-baked. I want to but I'm praying for it. I'm praying because there are some people who are going to die that kind of death. Trapped somewhere and dying.